Here's a quick video going through some of the things that you're going to see in 7.5. That's on installment buying. And so just some quick definitions. A fixed installment loan, the amount financed is considered what the consumer actually borrows. So in other words, that's the cash price minus whatever down payment was made. The total installment price, that is just the total of all of the monthly payments plus any down payment. So that's basically the total that you've paid for whatever this loan is. And then any finance charge is basically what you paid above and beyond the cash price. So it's the total installment price subtracting whatever the cash price was. So one question that often comes up is what's the APR? That's similar to APY because it finds the rate that you'd pay in simple interest to get the same loan. So APR is the rate of interest owed. APY is just the rate of interest earned on an investment. We've already calculated that. So those are interest rates, not dollar amounts. That's just something to keep in mind. And then this is the nifty thing that I want to make sure I point out. I'm going to go through a few things quickly in this video. I'm not going through every problem in detail, but I want to make sure you know how to do this on your calculator because this makes these problems kind of handy. There is a table method, and Alex has you actually do that. So I'm going to walk through just how to do this. It's not actually that bad. And it's important to understand that it gives an approximate APR value, and I'll still show you how to use the calculator even sort of as a cheat code to do those problems as well. And so just with that, I'll get into an example real quick. As I said, I'm not going to go through these in their entirety. You'll see the solutions written out, and I think for the most part they're pretty self-explanatory. I'm just going to highlight a couple things. This first example just says, all right, so you bought a new car. The cost of the new car is this $18,600. If you pay $3,000 for a down payment, and that's your monthly payment for 60 months, then that's the setup for this problem. The amount financed is, again, so you just subtract the down payment. So you're financing $15,600. The total installment price, well, if it tells you your monthly payment, and by the way, later on we're actually going to walk through how to compute those monthly payments and see more of that. So here we're just told a monthly payment for 60 months. So you paid this 60 times plus that down payment. So there's the total that you really ended up paying for that car. Even though it was an $18,000 car, you spent $21,978.60. The amount the finance charge is just the difference between this total number and the cash price. So that means you basically spent $3,300 or almost $3,400 on interest. That's the finance charge. So using the table method, computing the APR. So what's the APR using the table? So we take our finance charge divided by the amount financed and then take that times 100. And so we get this 21.66. And then find that 21.66 in the table. And sometimes you can find it exactly. Sometimes it'll just be as close as you can. So you find that in the table in the row for 60 months. So we were only looking in this row because we were told that we were making 60 payments. And so we go over, find that, and then look up, and you get 8%. Now, it's important to point out, and it's kind of obvious by looking at the table, that this is really giving you your APR to the nearest 0.5%. Some of the problems may be, in Alex, I think sometimes the table is to the nearest 0.25%. And so, for the calculator method, we're going to have to adjust to that. And so basically it's round to the nearest whatever percent. And one more Alex tip. If you're looking at the Alex table, I did have a couple students email me about this from time to time. I'm going to switch colors here. I'll switch to this red just to make a point. Down at the bottom of the table, so the table in Alex, you can have a scroll bar down at the bottom, and you may have a scroll bar along the side. I forget which side it is. So in other words, if you don't see the number of payments or you don't see the numbers you're looking for, you may need to scroll across and see more rows or columns in the table. So just look for that in Alex just to make sure, because there, to my knowledge, aren't any mistakes there. It's just a matter of you may have to scroll a little bit to see what you want in the table. And then to talk about this, oops, wrong button there. To talk about this using our calculator, we're going to use that APR, the finance button here on the calculator, and I'll show you this example live on the calculator just so you see it. So we press the apps button, we press button 1 for finance, we select option 1, this TVM solver, so I'm just going to press enter or option 1. And so then we go through, and I will scoot this over so we can see it. There, that's good enough. So then we go through and say n is 60. So when you see this, I'm not going to do every single one of these here in the notes, but when you see this, this is the stuff that you got to enter in on that TVM solver. The interest rate is what you're trying to find out, so I'm going to leave that blank, or I can leave it as 7. That was from an old problem. So present value is the amount financed, so that's $15,600. The payment, we enter that as a negative number, so that's that negative 316. Other times we're computing the payment, but I'm entering the payment here, 316.31, because they told us that payment. The future value is 0 because we're paying this loan down to 0. The payments per year and compoundings per year are both going to be 12. And there we go. And so then to find the APR, and by the way, this is doing it more precisely, but we go ahead and go back up here to this location, and then we're going to hit solve. So if you look, solve is above the enter. So we hit green alpha and solve. And so that means my APR is 7.9997, blah, blah, blah. And so notice, if you got this number on your calculator and you rounded it to the nearest 0.5%, so that would be 8, which is what we had. So that is how you do those on the calculator. And like I said, even if Alex gives you one of these questions, you can practice this method, and I encourage you to do it so you see how those table methods are done. But doing that on the calculator makes life quite a bit easier, so I encourage you to really practice that as well. Here's just another question that's very much identical. $9,300, $1,000 down, $198 per month for 60 months, and so do all those calculations. You get APR here just on the calculator, and it's possible, by the way, the table may not show the values you need, so practicing both methods is why we show you that calculator method, because your table, you're restricted to whatever values they give you on the table. And Alex will obviously give you the values you need as long as you scroll at the bottom, like I said. So there you do the calculation, and again, this is what we found. So the other things we just entered, and then you do the solve on the, you got to remember when you're solving, you move the cursor to that location. So in other words, we move the cursor to the interest rate, and then you solve. And so that'd be the only thing that was missing. So here is a case where here's a case where they're not telling you the payment. That much is financed over 36 months. So the total finance charge is $450. So then we have to say that that much is financed for $450 in finance charge. So there's the total of all the payments. And so then if you divide by 36, then you get the payment. And so that one has a little bit of a different spin on it. And then as far as the things you put on your calculator, I'm just putting the key ideas. N is 36 because that's the number of payments. Present value is 2,800. Future value is 0. Payment is $90.28. And again, I left off some of those other pieces, but they're the obvious ones. 0, 12, and 12 is all that I left off, just to show you what I'm talking about. I just showed you those first four, and future value is 0, payments per year is 12, compoundings per year is 12. So if we ever shortcut that, that's what we're talking about. If you use the table, by the way, the table method, you divide 450 by 2,800 and then multiply by 100, so you get 16.07. And if you hunt that down in the table, you get 10%. And again, that's rounded to the nearest 0.5%. Using the calculator, it's actually 9.9% is the APR. So again, practicing both methods is important. Credit card interest, just to practice one of those. You've got this computing the average daily balance for a credit card statement. You've got a beginning balance of $15.50.20. You got a purchase, a payment, and a purchase. And so we're practicing sort of one of the Alex questions here. Use the credit card statement to fill in the table below. There are 30 days in June, so by the way, pay attention to the number of days in your month as you do these. Some months have 30, some months have 31, and occasionally you'll get February with 28 or 29 days, and I don't think they give you any February questions just to avoid that headache. And so then filling in the blanks there. So we started off with $15.50.20, and so that's the unpaid balance for 15 days. That would be June 1st through June 15th. And the reason it's June 1st through June 15th is on the 16th we made a purchase. So then the purchase did that made the balance go up, and so it lasted for 7 days, and that's the 16th through the 22nd. And so then you take 7 times that balance and get this $12,254.90. And by the way, as you look at these are very much like a weighted average. So in other words, the balance was this for 15 days, so you multiply that together and get that. It was this for 7 days, multiply that together and get that 12,200 something. Then you made a payment, and so the balance went back down, so you subtracted that number, and it was that for 2 days, the 23rd and 24th, so 2 times that number to get this 25.57.40. Then you made another purchase, so the balance went back up, so you added that to the balance, and it was that for the remaining 6 days in the month. Notice your numbers here as you make these tables have to add up to 30. And so then you have, once you multiply all these together, you add them all up, add up all those values here, 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 and here. And that's that $48,980.68. And then to get the average daily balance, you divide those two numbers. So divide the 48,9 something by 30. That means your average daily balance was $1632.69. And so if the interest was charged on that daily balance, on that average daily balance, then you take 0.013, because that's 1.3% as a decimal, times this 1632, and that gives you 2122. And so then for the next month, they'll take whatever the previous balance was. So that 1819, that's a mistake people make here often. You got to take that previous balance. In other words, where did we end up? We ended up with that 1819 number. So that's this. So you take that previous balance and then add the finance charge. That's the interest that was charged, the 2122. And so then the next month would start at 1840.45. And the last problem we'll look at here, and I'll just kind of talk that through quickly as well. Unpaid balance for a credit card statement. So we started off with $439.55. We got $536.59 in purchases. We made payments of $55.60. So if a credit card company charges 1.79% monthly interest on the unpaid balance from the previous month, how much interest will that be? So 1.79% of the 435, so the unpaid balance. So we convert it to a decimal, multiply, and we get $7.87 in finance charges. So that's how much interest we'll charge there. And so then on the December statement, we kind of got to reconcile all these things. We had the 439, that's what we started with. The finance charge is what we're adding. Then we also added the payments that we made, and the purchases that we made, and then taking away the payments that we made. So now that's the new unpaid balance at the start of the next month, so the December statement. And just to back up, just so you understand something, these last two examples, credit card companies have different ways of charging interest. So you can charge interest on the average daily balance, you can charge interest on the unpaid balance. And so that will just be in the fine print of how the credit card works. So that's why there's two different examples there.